Sexifiers and garden gnomes. Get canonical in the orchard behind the 7-Eleven. Dream the type of dream that makes you change your sheets. And I swear this isn't what it looks like. It's an allegory. It's an allegory, I say.
Oh, it's time to talk Tull to me.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Omen Thomas Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together, we are Feckless Momes.
And this, my sweet specimens, is Talk Tull to Me.
A night of erotic poetry in the love tent of prog rock, in which Naughty Nick and O-Town Omen will employ a series of increasingly uncomfortable, thinly veiled botanical metaphors to describe every sweet and swollen song that heart-rate-increasing rock band Jethro Tull has ever cried into the sultry night. We will taste the fruits of the Goodyear garden, marvel at the whiteness of the Florian phlox, and feel the O'Hara heat pricking our quivering flesh. And if we yearn fervently enough, we may one day have the desire of our souls filled by the steamy soloist, the vineyard virtuoso, the mountainous musician, the perfumed performer, Ian Magic Hands Anderson.
Show me your embouchure. Show it to me.
You feel it before you see it.
Oh, is that what that is? Just on the back of the neck right there?
Nick, I am so excited for today's Talking Tull.
If we have learned anything...
And we haven't.
We haven't, I assure you. If we've learned anything in 222 songs...
Wow.
It's that you like the sexy songs.
We have learned that. And I don't like them for the sex. I like them for the sexiness.
You like them for the company. The sexiness is just an added bonus.
I like them because they fill the void that throbs in the midnight of my soul.
Very visceral. Very evocative, that statement.
But this is, even within the category of sexy songs, this is very special because this is a song which is not only sexy, but references one of the most mysterious pieces of sexy poetry in literature.
The poetry of Ian Anderson?
The poetry of the Song of Solomon, otherwise known as the Song of Songs, otherwise known as the Canticle of Canticles.
The ditty of ditties. The bop of bop. The slappiest of slaps.
Pretty much. We're talking about Shoshana Sleeping.
Shoshana Sleeping. I think I made that joke the first time.
I hope you'll keep doing it.
I will. It's such a Sean Connery statement.
Yeah, it is. Well, the Song of Solomon. The Song of Solomon.
That works too. That's great.
Yeah.
Anything alliteratively S works.
Yes. Sliterative. Shall we jump in and have a listen to Shoshana Sleeping, Nick?
Yeah, I don't have any preamble. I think we can dive into Shoshana.
Oh, actually, I have something.
Okay, tell me.
Why didn't you ask me what I'm drinking?
Oh, Omen. What are you drinking?
Tea.
Oh, okay.
But now ask me, what am I drinking it out of?
Omen, what are you drinking your tea out of?
My brand new Tull Skull mug.
It's so sexy.
Which is now my favorite mug in the whole wide universe of my cupboard.
It looks really good. It looks really good. All of the designs I made, not to brag at all, but all of the designs I made look really good on the stark white.
Oh.
There's the feckless.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nick, so you've got our feckless logo, which has the newt. I've got the Tull Skull, which is the skull and cross flutes, and they not like, even if you had no idea what they were, people would be like, yo, where's that badass mug from?
Yeah.
You know, all the people who see you drinking out of your mug.
Also, the OG JT looks really good. I've seen some Tull skulls showing off their mugs, and the OG JT design looks really good on white too.
If only those objects were accessible to anyone else who listened to this podcast.
Oh man, I have a secret.
What's that?
I won't tell you that one, but there's another one. They can access the TeePublic link to this very page to purchase all of the mugs.
Wow.
Multiple of each if you want.
Gotta sip them all.
Gotta sip them all. And I just want to say I'm drinking homemade kombucha.
That's great.
That's what I'm drinking.
Good for you.
Now, I think we can get into it, right?
Let's have a listen to Shoshana Sleeping.
Shoshana.
Nick, there we have Shoshana Sleeping.
It's hard not to fall into it now, isn't it?
It is, yes.
There it is. Yeah, what a song.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
A song. It is only 3.5 minutes. Feels like it's a lot longer.
It does.
Yeah. This was our first single that dropped, just so we remember.
Yes. And I remember when it came out, listening to it, it was like within fewer than 10 seconds, I was like, ooh.
What is this?
This is confirmation that this is going to be good. This ride is going to be fantastic.
Yeah. And a lot like, I think we were talking about it in Mine is the Mountain with that falsetto, first hearing that falsetto. I get the same feeling with that raspy whisper underneath in the verses. Like, it's so... Ooh.
Yeah.
Sleep, the time's not yet. Early birds soon crowing.
It's interesting. So, I mean, Ian, we recognize this technique fairly often that he'll double up his own voice, and one will be that kind of spoken underlaying one.
Yeah.
But with this one, it feels a little different, and the impression that I have is that feeling when you're so uncomfortably aroused that you know, you're so hot for someone or something that you're like shaking and your mouth goes dry and you're like, do you want to go out for coffee? For instance.
Yeah, I get it. It's like the next level of passion, you know. It's gone to seed. It's beyond what it ought to be.
Yeah. Your adrenaline is kicked in. I love it.
Yeah, very nice, very effective.
Remind me, who's the drummer? Is it John O'Hara? No, it's Hammond.
It's Scott Hammond.
It's Scott Hammond.
Yep.
Amazing work throughout on this. Mm-hmm. His drum intro, every time I hear it, I love it. It always reminds me of the drum intro to Bob Dylan's Everybody Must Get Stoned. If you listen to them back to back, it's like it's got that same kind of feeling just for a moment, and then of course it is not that song.
Before he starts singing, Bob Dylan. Listen to just the drums.
Listen just to the drum intro, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
First couple of measures.
The flute in this, I mean, all of the instruments in this are really solid. Again, all very solid.
But let's talk about the flute.
Let's talk about the flute. That catchy in between that da 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 da, and the guitar comes underneath and does that as well. It's a theme, right? It continues and runs through the entirety of the song.
It is, and what I find fascinating about this is that often when Ian plays the flute, he'll have a central theme that he plays, and then he'll elaborate on it, and then he'll elaborate on it again. It's almost like Baroque music, you know, where you have the theme and then you complicate it, and then you complicate the complication, and then you complicate the complication until what you end up with is almost unrecognizable from the first theme. Ian does that sometimes.
Yeah.
This, he states the theme, and that's pretty much what he plays throughout.
Yeah.
In terms of the tune of this song, we don't have a lot of stuff that's not that central theme.
Yeah. Yeah, it's verse, theme, verse, theme, chorus, theme, verse, theme.
Short little breakdown, but not a lot
breakdown's great.
added in terms of complexification.
Yeah. which is nice. It's nice. It allows you to really listen to the rest of the instruments in this. I find it's a little less, it pulls less, even though it's bright and it's right in front and you can hear it obviously every single time. It does allow you to kind of lose focus on it, I think, and really pull in the different instruments.
No, and it feels like it kind of fits with that theme of the one-track mind.
Yeah.
All you can think about is the object of your desire. It's almost a meditation on the object of desire.
Yeah. All you can do is play this one tune because it's so ingrained, you don't have to think about it, and you can't switch to anything else.
Yeah. Every fiber of your being is oriented toward getting it.
Cha-ching. Yeah. The guitar and synth under Sweetfield Lily, that kind of chorusy bit is so nice. And then about halfway through the drums start to come in as well. It crescendos. Yeah. The guitar is like plinky, the synth is plinky. It's so good.
Sweetfield Lily, sweet Shoshana, names to conjure, fragrant danger, fingers tremble, trace the line from nape to sacrum down the spine.
I was trying to identify what that plinky sound is coming from. And I at one point I thought, okay, it's the guitar on a harmonic, or then I was thinking it's the synth, but it's a little hard to identify, but it's wonderful.
I don't think it's harmonics. I think he's got a pedal on. I think he's got a little fuzz on there, and he's just plucking single notes.
It's great.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah.
It's the sonic equivalent of the hairs on the back of your neck standing up.
The front of your neck.
The way front.
The down front. The down in front.
The down in front.
That breakdown at about like 1:45, just before we hit the 2 mark, where Ian goes to church with the flute. That's the best part of the flute. We've got that repeating theme, but this is when he gets really dirty. And I think there are 2 flutes at that point. I think.
Oh, interesting.
I could be wrong. But I know he starts it with a little bit of a funk. It's a little build on that theme, and then he gets really dirty with it. And then he pulls back, and then we go back into the Sweetfield Lily line again.
Our bassist is John O'Hara.
No, John O'Hara's keys. David Goodyear, of course. How could we forget?
How could we? David Goodyear's bass playing, now that I'm actually listening to it on good headphones, I'm finding a lot more depth in his work. And I'm also noticing that Mr. Florian is playing, at least on this song, the guitar in a much lower register. I'm wondering if maybe some of my initial tepidness about trepidation about Florian's playing is just adjusting to the fact that Martin tends to play really high up with his solos and with his comments. I'm realizing that Florian plays a little further down in the scale, and maybe some of it gets obscured with the bass and mixes in not a bad way, just in a different way.
It is the German way, how we play guitar. It's low.
It is either E flat or it is E, nothing in between. We don't understand this concept of quarter tones.
Just one string. It's a single string guitar.
Shall I tell you a quick anecdote about the single string guitar?
I would love nothing more.
Well, too bad, Barleycorn. My dad was traveling in the Basque region of Spain one time, as one does.
Is this pre-birth of Omen? Is
Pre-birth.
This P.O.? Okay.
It's P.O. Box.
Yeah.
And my dad has a long history of playing the guitar.
A sordid guitar history.
Yeah, pretty much. And he was at this kind of tavern and chatting with the owners of the tavern, and they were getting on. My dad spoke fairly good Spanish for a while, and I guess they were speaking Spanish rather than Basque. And he saw a guitar hanging on the wall, and the guy noticed him seeing it and saying, "Oh, do you want to play it?" And my dad looked at it, and it only had one string on it. And my dad said, "Well, I would absolutely take it down and play, but it only has one string. And the guy said, un bon tocador. Puedo tocar con solo una corda. A good player could play even with one string.
Sassy.
Yeah.
That's a line that Ray's grandfather would have said at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excuses.
Yeah, right.
You kids don't appreciate anything.
That's a good story.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
It may be factual.
If it comes from Donald Sade, I don't care. How about that spoken word verse?
Oh my God, I love it so much.
Sweet sadness fills my heart. Offered chances best not taken. Unsullied, no vain glory. Chapter, verse, another story.
Not something that we have terribly commonly in the Tull catalog, but it's not completely unique either.
When's the last time we heard it?
Well, it reminds me of one of my favorite songs, Hot Mango Flush.
Oh, that's why, because we haven't been there yet. I forgot he does that.
Ladies with ice cream hair. Gyroscopic pink neon beams.
But there's something appropriate about it. It almost feels like, you have the internal thought, and then you have the internal thought.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm not even going to say this in my out loud internal voice.
Yeah. I won't sing it. I'll just think it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All of it ought to be internal voice, I think, reading these naughty veiled lyrics, and barely veiled.
Well, I'm excited to talk about the actual text itself of the song, and also the text of the song, the Canticle of Canticles.
Yeah.
There's one thing I wanted to mention, which is that the Song of Songs, the Song of Solomon, is, of course, from the Hebrew Bible, the Torah.
Which is just the just the Old Testament, isn't it?
I think there may be some bits that are a little bit different, but the Song of Solomon is in both the current Christian Bible and in the Hebrew Torah.
Okay.
I think it was originally in Aramaic. It's one of the really old ones. And there's been a lot of debate about it. For a certain period of time, Jewish scholars said, no, we really shouldn't include this. And then a lot of people were saying, no, this is absolutely this incredible Kabbalic veiled metaphor for the relationship between God and man. Christians see this often as a metaphor for the relationship between Christ and his bride, the church, or his bride, the believer.
Sure.
But it's also been adapted a number of times. And it does come from a performance tradition. There are references to rabbis saying at some point, oh, this isn't a song that, we judge, we say no to the people who go around in the tavern singing the Song of Solomon. Meaning it was sung.
Yeah.
It was a performance piece.
Interesting.
And of all the adaptations, they tend to, most people who approach the song approach it in a very sensual, soft, poetic way. Ian has interpreted it in this very direct 4/4, flutes a screaming, four on the floor, kind of like rock song, and it's just fascinating. This isn't an acoustic moment.
Right. Yeah, he embodies the passion that can very well be behind those sensual moments. Of course, they can be driven by passion. It's his interpretation of it, and I think it's great.
I love it.
I think it's a great twist on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I wanted to mention about the musical rendition.
Okay. Yeah.
It is in 4/4.
4/4. That's it. That whole story was just to get to. It's in 4/4.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it.
A quick 4/4 though, right? 1, 2, 3. Da 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 da.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 7, 8. 1, 2. Yeah.
Could it be 8? 8/8?
It could be 8/8.
Okay. Yeah, it's very fast. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's it. Let's go to halfway there, right? Yeah.
Nick, here we are in the break tent.
Here we are in the in-between. We're not going to dip into anything Zealot Gene right now, but I have the tiniest of little anecdotes, and then we have an addendum, a pretty substantial addendum. So the anecdote, just a scant 2 hours ago, I was sitting here in the studio editing Zealot Gene, the episode. Rook's behind me playing on the floor, playing with cards and dice and whatever.
Gambling.
with the cats, yeah. I start the track of the Zealot Gene, the music, to grab a snippet, and the first 10 seconds of it plays, and he's like, Zealot Gene. Is that Zealot Gene?
Oh, no.
I know. I was just floored, flabbergasted even. Very impressed.
Kids listen.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They soak up everything.
Yeah.
Even when you think they're not listening, they're listening.
And he does like Tull, and he's showing an appreciation for more of it just than the couple of albums I started him with. So
It's genetic.
yeah. Despite Ray's genes trying to overpower that,
Despite the best efforts of the medical community.
Rook has inherited so much from Raven. But this one is a what's it called? A dominant gene or a
Sure.
recessive and dominant? Is that it? So it's a dominant gene? Yeah. That's it. If there's anything that he gets for me, I hope it's that. It worked.
Amazing.
Okay.
No, and it's just great to see, it's great to know that there will be future generations of Tull lovers.
There sure will.
There sure will.
Yeah, there sure will. Next.
Let's get addendumized.
It's about to get addendumized.
Addendum? Hardly know him. You brought him. You addendum.
Okay, so this past episode, chronologically, the date that we are recording this, the last episode to drop was John Barleycorn / Reynard the Fox.
Really enjoyed listening to it, by the way. I listened to half of it the other day and half of it on my run today, and I really enjoyed it. Really good stuff.
It was a good one.
Good stuff, us.
Those feckless moms, they know what they're doing.
Sometimes.
So we had a good response. We've got in the Discord, JK. JK writes in and says, not sure if any of you are aware of some trivia regarding the live recording which occurred on tour in Greece. Ian was joined on stage by George Dalaras, and I think he is credited on the album. There's also a photo of him performing with Ian in a booklet that came with the 25th anniversary box set. Dalaras is a doyen of Greek traditional and folk music, and he has released some great stuff. And just for the record, doyen, I looked it up because I've never heard that word before. The word doyen is the most respected or prominent person in a particular field.
Oh, the head.
Yeah.
The paragon.
I'm not sure how they came about to perform together, but the song as performed has Dalaras on vocals, and I think it sounds awful. It's a bit rough. It is. By the way, I'll put a link to that in our show notes. It's actually really interesting to hear.
It is.
He sounds great in Greek or Spanish, but not in English. Ian re-recorded the vocals for the album. I seem to recall reading that it was for the UK-US release, so perhaps there are some album versions in Greece with the original recording.
Wow.
Yeah.
And if you listen carefully, you can hear Dalaras playing the bouzouki, which is a relative, it is a
cousin?
No, because they're not related in terms of their descendancy exactly, but they are related in terms of their morphology. It's very closely related to the mandola or the mandolin. It's a double-stringed instrument that sounds a lot like a big mandolin. But it actually comes from a different tradition.
Gotcha. Okay. To wrap up with that, Micah Noel on YouTube chimes in and says, the recording of this has always confused me. I believe they took 2 recordings from 2 separate nights and blended them together to get this track. On one of the nights, they had a guest vocalist to sing this song, and then Ian sang it himself later. Maybe? It seems to have been doctored in the studio quite a bit. I can even hear a second electric guitar very faintly at times, in a way that Martin would not have been able to perform live, which actually might be the bouzouki.
Or it could be, if they did take the 2 tracks and lay them on top of each other, they may have had some bleed into one of the mics, into one of the vocal mics.
Yeah. This makes me think that either the vocal mic or drum mics were picking up the guitar and therefore remained when the second recording was made.
Wow.
If you look on YouTube, for the guest vocalist version, you can hear that it's the same music from Ian's version. This makes me think Ian may have just done his vocal in the studio to replace the guest vocalist track.
Fascinating.
As confirmed by JK, yeah. The bootlegs from this tour are quite illuminating as well. The raw recordings with mistakes and bad notes unedited is a treat to listen to. And Ian was full of all sorts of jokes back then. Some of the jokes and banter took up several minutes before the start of the songs. It does still have an ideal live sound for the band to have achieved in the early 90s. I also realized later that it's a selection of songs from the tour and not representative of what an actual set list looked like. They played all sorts of heavier songs next to these ones during the shows, so the light selection is just curated to be so. Yeah. I'm going to dig in to see if I can find a full concert of that.
Just a note about Dalaras's vocal performance. He's a really great singer.
Yeah.
But it does sound to English-speaking ears a little bit strange to have his accent on that song.
There were three men came out of their west. Their fortunes for to fly. And these three men made a son and vow. Your Barleycorn must die.
And again, it's not bad. I think in some ways he's probably a better technical vocalist than Ian. He has the ability to do some of those really interesting runs and stuff like that. But it is disorienting, and I can see Ian being like, that's just not going to play with our audiences.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I do like it for a bit of a change. And when he first starts singing, you're clearly like, "Ugh, I'm not sure how I feel about this." But there are some parts, some versions that he takes the lines in a different way that work really well, particularly with his voice.
They've plowed, they've sown, they've harmony through clothes upon his head.
And actually that re-recording, that deleting the voice of Dalaras off of the album, was what caused Poseidon, the god of the sea, to curse the band, and that's why they had so much trouble getting back to home.
10 years, I think? Took him 10 years?
I think it was about 10 years, yeah.
Ian shot a flute through axes because only Ian could do that.
Yes, yeah.
And his sweet Penelope Shoshana was there waiting for him.
Shoshana was like, anyone who can blow this flute, no one could do it. No one could blow hard enough.
Yeah. And she was busy weaving tapestries of all the Jethro Tull covers.
That would be a tapestry. I am a slut for tapestries, Nick.
Yes, you are. I do know that about you.
I mean, if there's one thing you know about me, I am an absolute whore for a tapestry, and I would love a tapestry, a Jethro Tull tapestry. Oh my God.
Which cover?
All of them.
If you had to pick one.
Shut up.
Pick one.
Catfish Rising.
Ooh, nice. I would say Stand Up. I like that woodcut feel. I think it would translate really well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Micah Noel and Jai Kai, for that information.
Thanks to ye both.
And let's go back to Shoshana Sleeping.
Let's do that. Okay, Nick.
Here we are. Context for Shoshana Sleeping.
Let's talk about the Song of Solomon.
Yes. Let's build our base. Let's build our foundation and then go from there.
Yeah. Okay, Song of Solomon, it's
a whole book, right? It's like saying the book of Matthew, essentially.
It is a book in the Bible, and it references Solomon, but it is not really about Solomon. It is sort of, the setting is the time of Solomon. Solomon was, I feel like I'm getting this right, he was a king known for his wisdom. It was when the nation of Israel was on the ascendancy. They had been so successful that there were certain, he felt that there was moral corruption starting. So that the famous story with him is the two women claimed the same baby.
Yeah.
And so he said, all right, well, we'll cut the baby in half and give one half to each of you. And one of the women was like, yeah, do it. And the other woman was like, no, let her have it. And he was like, oh, that's the mother. Duh.
But, I mean, yes, I get it. But why would the not mother just be okay with half of a baby?
Because it wasn't her baby, and so she didn't.
But what was she going to do with it? Eat it? Like, that's the only logical.
It's a story.
I know.
And it's all about his cleverness. Yeah, but anyway, he doesn't really factor into the Song of Solomon. The Song of Solomon is from the performance tradition, and it takes the form of lovers expressing their desire and love for each other. And there's a a chorus, which is the traditional form of the chorus, being a group of people who echo and respond. And a lot of people have said, oh, yes, it's an allegory. It is deeply coded with spiritual stuff, and all of that might be true. But I think it is also literally a sexy song about how hot lovers are for each other. It starts with, "Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is better than wine."
Pretty sexy. What other orifice would he use to kiss you? My question.
And I mean, if you sang that with a steel guitar behind it, that would be a perfect opening line to a country song.
Yeah, you could have a lady in a slinky dress up on stage with a little jazz band behind her. Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I'm sold.
So it goes on. She describes how beautiful she is. She says, "I am very dark but lovely, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon." There are all these metaphors comparing. There are a lot of agricultural metaphors, which has to do with fecundity and fertility. There's a lot of searching. The bride describes searching for her lover in a dream and not being able to find him, and then finding him in the dream, and then waking up and realizing that she hasn't found him. So there's layers and layers and layers.
What was that? We just did that song. That was in
The Waking Edge.
Yeah, that's The Waking Edge. Very good.
The edge of a half-dream glowing. Well, you know, I felt her in my dream last night.
From the note that I have with the Song of Solomon is it's a series of lyrical poems, and it's basically like a lengthy dialogue between a young woman and her lover, right? Yeah. And then the chorus occasionally addresses the lovers. And the first poem is the one that you were referencing, saying she longs to be near him, enjoy his kisses, cook him a steak, get a back rub, etc.
Yeah, and then there's the Song of Solomon 2, the Solomoning.
The squeakquel.
I am a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valleys. She's described as an apple tree among the trees of the forest. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag.
All attractive, healthy, fit things that bear fruit with the apple tree, things that stand out, things that will attract any number of things.
The fig tree ripens its figs, and the vines are in blossom. They give forth fragrance. Arise, my love, my beautiful one, and come away.
Fig is very often used as euphemism for either genitalia.
So it's extremely descriptive. It falls into the pattern of a number of Greek and Middle Eastern poets, describing the setting of love in terms of a garden. He describes her as a walled garden, implying that she is chaste, implying that she is a virgin. And then she says, "Come taste the fruits of my garden."
That's the big green flag, baby.
Suckle. It's very It's very consenting.
Gates are open.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice.
My papaya wants a little squeeze of lime.
Come bring your bees to fertilize this flower.
My mango is going to go off in about 3 days, so get it while it's good. Anyway.
Yeah. And for any number of reasons that this book has been, like you said,
Debated.
Yeah, debated, taken out of the Bible, taken out of the Torah, taken out of different religious texts.
Taken out, put back in, taken out, put back in, taken out, put back, put really far in.
I'm really tired now.
I'm really made a sandwich.
The idea of how sexy it is anathema. The euphemism is anathema. And some of the straight up statements, they are not to be shared religiously,
Under current policies, this book of the Bible could be banned in Florida schools.
Oh, baby. Then it's good if that's the case.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But is it they don't know who wrote it? Wasn't there like didn't people think that it was like Mary Magdalene who wrote it or something like that? And that feels very Dan Brown to me.
Yes, oh, absolutely. It does seem, to me, it seems like it is a series of poems from the oral tradition. The oral tradition. That, like a lot of poems that got codified at some point.
Yeah. Which seems kind of on the rare side for the Bible, right? I mean, are all of is each of those books some form of lyrical poem that was passed up until it was written?
I think that maybe, I think that in the Old Testament, that's probably more the case, that these are tales that were developed and taken with these nomadic tribes.
The flood myth, the first human myth. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. And so it's just at some point somebody pens a version of it that then becomes the canonical version.
Yeah, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Well, those are more attributable to an eyewitness account, but even then, they weren't penned until years after those people had passed away.
Right.
So it's still an oral tradition of an eyewitness account.
Right, yeah. Oh, and Ringo. I forgot Ringo. Everybody forgets Ringo.
So, Ian's song, Shoshana Sleeping,
yes,
appears to be in the filing cabinet of Shona songs.
Yeah.
Missing My Hot Wife songs.
Yeah.
And...
yeah, I think Shona is short for Shoshana, isn't it? I think we
looked that up at one point.
I think Feckless Mom or Vinyl Junkie on Discord dropped that little bit of knowledge. I believe so.
Oh, King Solomon does feature a little bit. This is in the dream sequence. King Solomon arrives to bless the wedding, it looks like. Your hair is like a flock of goats leaping down the slopes of Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of shorn ewes that have come up from the washing, all of which bear twins.
Ooh. Again, fecundity and fertility, something very attractive and healthy in a human.
Your cheeks are like halves of a pomegranate behind your veil. Your neck is like the Tower of David built in rows of stones. Your two breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle that graze among the lilies. Holy shit. I can't believe, it is kind of hard to believe that it's in the Bible.
Yeah.
Whether or not the word Shoshana is an elongation or an original form of Shona, it certainly seems referential.
Yes, certainly feels like it. Yeah, this does not feel... this feels too personal to be like that one remove of a generically sexy song with a generic person.
Yes, I think this is very specifically sexy.
Yeah.
And the theme so first verse we have, sleep, the time's not yet, early birds soon crowing, wake when dawn declares, woman risen from childish airs, I watch across the room, dancing shadow, torch outside, lights, path down cobbled lane, which I have walked will walk again.
Sleep, the time's not yet, early birds soon crowing, wake when dawn declares, woman risen from childish days. I watch across the room, dancing shadow, torch outside, lights path down cobbled lane, which I have walked will walk again.
A theme that we've not unheard before. It reminds me of the one that describes leaving and the gate, the pergola. Home.
Yeah.
When the dawn sun breaks.
As the dawn sun breaks over sleepy gardens.
There's this theme of coming back early in the morning, seeing his sleeping wife, thinking, oh my God, how beautiful is she. This theme of sleep is a big part of the song of the Thong of Solomon.
The Thong of Solomon. Now we're getting there.
It's a big theme in the religious text. You know, the relationship between sleep and desire and how one's desires play out in sleep and how you can be with your lover in sleep even if you aren't in waking life. Then we have Sweet Field Lily, Sweet Shoshana. That's a direct reference to I am the lily of the valley. Mm-hmm. This rare thing that is fragrant and beautiful and pure, and in all the valley, there's this one beautiful flower. The lily of the valley is also used in Animal Crossing. When you reach a 5-star island, it will only sprout then. So it is a signal of
fertility,
of piety,
fecundity,
virtue,
yeah,
preciousness.
That's what this song is about, actually.
That's what Animal Crossing is about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that, I guess we could call that the chorus, right? That chorus is really one of the most blatantly sexy parts. Fingers tremble, trace the line from nape to sacrum down the spine. Sacrum's tailbone, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I love that line. I love it.
Sweet field lily, sweet Shoshana, names to conjure, fragrant danger, fingers tremble, trace the line from nape to sacrum down the spine.
And like you could try to say like, oh, he's talking about the lily. He's talking about the very like sensitive, sensual parts of the lily. You have to be very careful.
They don't have sacrums.
I know. But it just like allegory is a flower for the no place. The sacrum is an allegory for a part of the flower, maybe. It's one of those like plausible deniabilities that nobody's believing.
I think you'd have to really warm up before that stretch.
It's poetic license. Get off my back.
I'm sure someday there will be a mystical cabal based on the works of Jethro Tull. They're like, the sacrum is the third chakra. It's all there's nothing sexy about it.
My poetic license has not come in the mail yet, so I'm struggling right now. I have a poetic learner's permit right now.
That's interesting.
Going forward, moist under my hand, she sleeps, breath comes quickly, a sigh parts silky lips, soft swell breasts, proud golden tips.
Moist under my hand, she sleeps, breath comes quickly, a sigh parts silky lips, soft swell breasts, proud golden tips.
We've only had like one or two other references, or not even blatant statements of breasts before, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it was probably the tail end of the folk era, I believe.
A desperate breathing, tongue nipple teasing.
And Silky Lips is almost a direct paraphrasing or a direct reference to the Song of Solomon. Your lips are like a scarlet thread.
They called me Silky Lips in high school. Yeah.
Ooh, your lips drip nectar, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. The fragrance of your garments is like the fragrance of Lebanon. A garden locked is my bride. A fountain sealed. Your shoots are an orchard of pomegranates with all choicest fruits.
So plant and food-wise here, we're talking milk and honey. Mm-hmm. We're talking pomegranates, all of which are... It's basically nectar and ambrosia. It's like you are in the promised land, you are safe, you are happy, you are where you belong.
And this is where I think this Ian's song gets so powerful, is that you can say, yeah, Song of Solomon is about sex, this song is about sex. But really, I do think that at the deeper level, it is about the joys, including the sensual, physical joys of pure love. When two people are really faithful to each other, that joy becomes rarefied, that you then have the mix of the physical, carnal joy and desire with the spiritual side of things.
Yeah.
The Song of Solomon isn't about, meeting some stud in the after party and going home and getting your oats. It's about like the sexy time with your spiritual mate. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what is so powerful about Ian's song, is that it's not just my wife is so hot. It's my wife is so hot, and I cannot believe that the universe and God has blessed me with such an appropriate spiritual companion that I still, after 50 years of marriage or 40 years of marriage, tremble to think of her. Wow, that's how I want to be.
It is lovely and romantic and sweet, and references to flowers and naughty bits and things do not have to be like you just said. They don't have to be like straight out of a porno mag. They can be with respect and poetic.
And I think that in our culture, especially in America, we tend to think very binarily about things.
Yeah.
And so we have the Madonna whore complex. We have the either this is a person for sex or this is a person for marriage.
Right.
And what the Song of Solomon is so beautiful at doing is, and actually one of the things that Judaism does in an incredibly beautiful way is bring a sensuality to spirituality.
Yeah.
To say you can have spiritual love that is also sensual and sexual.
It acknowledges human nature, you know? It doesn't make it taboo,
Yeah.
which is why they don't want it in the Bible.
Well, and we have to remember that in America, a lot of our culture, especially when it comes to Christianity and spirituality and sex, was incredibly strongly influenced by
The Holy Bible.
the Puritans.
Yes.
The Puritans who got kicked out of England for being no fun at all.
Too straight, yeah.
Being big bummers.
Big, boring. They brought celery to the party. Who invited the Puritans? They brought celery and tap water.
Never go to a Puritan party.
Saltines.
If you're lucky.
You
If you're
don't-
lucky, you get saltines.
There's no dancing. You just stand there and listen to the wind.
If you hold a saltine under your tongue long enough, it gets a little bit sweet.
It does, yeah.
They figured that out.
Yeah. The starches turn to sugars.
Yeah, tap water,
What your saliva does.
and you can lick the grass.
Yes. So after our, second recitation of Sweet Field Lily, that's when we get into the spoken, the sweet sadness fills my heart. Offered chances best not taken. Where does that verse take you? Sweet sadness fills my heart. Offered chances best not taken. Unsullied, no vain glory. Chapter, verse, another story.
Sweet sadness fills my heart. Offered chances best not taken. Unsullied, no vain glory. Chapter, verse, another story.
I feel like this is a reference to a theme that we see a lot in Ian's writing, which is the difficulty, the pain, the sadness at having to leave his bride
Yeah.
to go and ply his trade in the wide world.
Yeah, the next verse really seals that deal, too.
And as a rock star, you know, he has the opportunity. Anyone who travels the world as a rock star has the opportunity to get in the pants of their fans.
Yeah. They take advantage of the women who,
And the men.
and men,
And the non-binaries.
the people with pulses who are attracted and sexually explorative with rock stars.
And, you know, for a lot of people, they project their sexual fantasies, their sensual fantasies, their fantasies of love onto musicians, onto public figures, onto rock stars. And
Yeah.
so, you know, the joke, I don't think it's really a joke, the reality, especially in the 70s and 80s, was you get off stage and your special tour manager would be like, right, well, here's all the sexy young things who came backstage for you.
Yeah, they're waiting in the green room. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, in the context of that, Ian is saying, unsullied, no vainglory. Vainglory is the overestimation of one's value, of overestimating one's accomplishments. In this context, saying, yes, I am a famous rock star, and I do deserve to have a little tickle now and then. He's saying, no,
Right.
this love is so precious to me that it remains unsullied.
Yeah.
And the backside of that is the sadness that fills his heart when he has to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. Brushed eyelids gently closed, beauty framed in dawn light, savored moment blessed, a kiss farewell and leave to rest.
Brushed eyelids gently closed, beauty framed in dawnlight, savored moment blessed, a kiss farewell and leave to rest.
It's very much home. It's very much Waking Edge. It's got that sweet, sweet feel, even though it's not slow, you know, like it's a heavier, quicker, faster song. It's home and Waking Edge are slow and sweet, but this, he's still getting that point across. It's like a little more veiled just by the sound, the sonic journey that it takes you on, but it's there. It's really there.
It is a little note of Odysseus there. Without all of the having sex with witches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let my beloved come to his garden and eat its choicest fruits. Damn. I mean, this stuff is
Spicy.
in every hotel bedside table drawer.
50 Shades of Grey?
50 Shades of Solomon.
That's it. There we go. I like that. The Shades of Solomon. It works. It works.
I ate my honeycomb with my honey. I drank my wine with my milk.
Wine and milk doesn't sound terribly good. Yeah.
My head is wet with dew.
Are you just going to keep going?
I can't stop. Nick, what are we talking about next week?
Next week is the second of the singles that dropped, I believe. It is Sad Shitty Sisters.
What works equally as well.
Just as well. Sad City Sisters.
Ezekiel 23, verses 2 through 11, for those of you who want to preview El Biblio.
I think that was that the puppet one? That was the puppet one, the music video. That was puppets, I think.
Sounds right.
Yeah, that was good.
Until next week, I am poisoned. Prize a trophy, Omen Thomas Sade.
I am moist under your hand, Nick McGill.
We are freely taken, hardly won, the feckless Momes.
And look at our proud golden tips. This is Talk Tull to me.
Well, hey there, sailor. Why don't you come over and gargle my guava? Oh. You're certainly a tall glass of water. Tell me, how tall are you?
6 foot 7 inches.
Well, never mind the 6 foot. Let's talk about the 6 inches. Oh. You look like a man who could really knows how to cook a kumquat. If you pick up my meaning.
I'd like to see where you hide your juniper berries.
Oh, well, 2 in the hand is worth 1 in the bush. Tell me, mister, did you ever masticate a mango?
You show me your fig, I'll show you my huckleberries.
Oh. I like my men like I like my black mulberries. Black.
You look like a delicious jujube.
Ooh, why don't you squeeze me and get my juice all over you? I'm plump like a plum and thorny like a pineapple.
Your tangerine reminds me that Talk Tull to me is a proud member of the Feckless Momes Audio Network. Now shut up and kiss me.
Oh, slap me with a soursop.